Let's make something clear from the outset. Goodness alone is not enough to survive in this world. If you believe that being a good person is enough to achieve success, you're living in a fantasy. And the worst part is that, deep down, you know it, even if you refuse to accept it. The world doesn't just reward those who are good, nor does it automatically recognize merit. It rewards those who understand how to navigate its complexities, those who not only have good intentions but are also strategic, those who don't allow their goodness to become a weakness. How many times have you felt that others are walking all over you? How many times have you done the right thing, believing that honesty and nobility would be enough, only to end up ignored, underestimated, or, even worse, used by those who know how to manipulate the system? Since childhood, we've been taught that being good is the key to success, that virtue will always be rewarded, that integrity alone opens doors. But life proves time and time again that this is not true. You see dishonest people prospering, manipulators rising, and those who blindly follow the rules being left behind. Why is that? Because the world doesn't operate on the basis of justice. It operates on the basis of power, perception, and strategy. And this is where Machiavelli comes in. Nicolaus Machiavelli understood something that most people ignore or refuse to accept. Human nature is selfish, fickle, and, when necessary, cruel. In The Prince, he exposed a fundamental truth that many find uncomfortable. Virtue without cunning is a weakness, and goodness without strategy is a trap. He didn't advocate wickedness, but realism. He didn't tell people to betray their principles, but to understand that morality, in the hands of the naive, can become a weapon against them. Now think about the people you admire, those who have achieved great things. Do you really believe that they got there with only good intentions? That they always played fair and waited for the world to recognize their value? No, they got to the top because they understood human nature, because they knew how to move in a world that doesn't just reward justice, but strategic action. They knew when to act in the light of day and when to move in the shadows. They understood that morality is not an obstacle, but a tool, something to be used intelligently rather than carried around like a flimsy shield. The problem isn't that you're good. The problem is that you don't know how to protect yourself. The world doesn't work the way we've been taught. We believe that it's enough to be competent, honest, and correct for success to come naturally. But the reality is very different. The world doesn't reward those who are right. It rewards those who know how to sell their side of the story. And Machiavelli understood this perfectly. It's not just about what you really are, but what others believe you to be. Perception is everything. An insecure leader will never inspire confidence, even if they are the best prepared. A professional who doesn't know how to stand out will never be promoted, even if they have the best qualifications. A person who doesn't project value is unlikely to be desired, even if they have a lot to offer. That's why the secret is not just to be good, but to master the narrative about yourself. Learning to control your image, creating the right impression in every situation, knowing how to be seen in the most advantageous way. This doesn't mean deceiving others, but directing their attention to what you want them to see. Think about it. In any social interaction, people don't perceive reality as it is, but through filters of assumptions, prejudices, and emotions. And the question remains, are you letting these filters work against you, or do you know how to use them to your advantage? If you're good but seem weak, you'll be treated as weak. If you're fair but seem naive, you'll be trampled on. If you're talented but seem insecure, you'll be ignored. It's as simple as that. The art of perception is what separates those who control their destiny from those who are controlled by others. And here, we enter deeper territory, the control of information. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people always seem to know something that others don't? That those who dominate the game always have an advantage? That's no coincidence. They know when to speak and, more importantly, when to remain silent. Naive people believe that absolute honesty is a virtue, that always saying what you think and sharing everything you know is the right thing to do. But in reality, information is power, and those who give power away for free inevitably make themselves vulnerable. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must know how to conceal his true intentions, not because he should be a liar, but because, in a world where everyone seeks advantage, he who reveals too much becomes an easy target. Learn to control what you share. Say only what is necessary and nothing more. Maintain a certain mystery. Let others wonder what you really think, because the moment you become predictable, when your actions can be easily anticipated, you lose any strategic advantage you might have. The greatest strategists in history, whether in politics, business, or the arts, have always understood this. Strategic silence can be as powerful as words. Think of someone you admire, someone who really has influence. Is this someone who always says everything they think, who exposes every detail of their life? Or is it someone who knows how to keep certain information under wraps, someone who always has a card up their sleeve? The problem with many people is that they confuse transparency with weakness. They believe that if they don't reveal everything, they are being dishonest. But it's not about lying. It's about managing information intelligently. Now stop and think. How many times have you said too much and regretted it? How many times have you trusted the wrong person and revealed something that was later used against you? How many times have you tried to justify yourself unnecessarily to people who didn't even deserve an explanation? The power is not in speaking more. The power lies in knowing when to speak up and when to shut up. And here we come to a lesson that hardly anyone applies. Those who speak less and explain themselves less command more respect. Why is that? Because silence generates uncertainty, and uncertainty generates curiosity, and curiosity gives you power. If you always speak your mind without a filter, people lose interest. If you always justify yourself, people assume you have something to prove. But when you only speak when necessary, when you choose your words carefully and leave room for interpretation, then, for the first time, people really start to pay attention to what you have to say. And here comes an even more powerful concept, the art of unpredictability. Predictable people are easy to manipulate. If you always act in the same way, if you always respond in the same way, if your emotions and decisions are easy to anticipate, then anyone can use you as a piece on the board. But when you become unpredictable, when no one is ever sure of your next move, you become dangerous. And when you're dangerous, you become respected. And Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. A leader who can be read like an open book is a weak leader. Someone who reveals himself in full, who doesn't maintain any layer of mystery, who always acts in the same way and allows others to anticipate his moves, inevitably becomes vulnerable. But a leader who maintains a certain level of mystery, who adapts when necessary, who never allows himself to be completely labeled, that's the leader who stays in power. That's the leader who can't be easily toppled. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to remain an open book that anyone can read, manipulate, and exploit? Or do you want to become a strategist? Someone who controls your image, your information, and your unpredictability to ensure your own security and success. Because kindness without strategy is just an invitation to be devoured. The world doesn't change its rules for you. It remains implacable, indifferent to your ideals and beliefs. So what's left to do? Learn to play by the rules that really exist, and not the ones you've been made to believe exist. If you do this well, if you apply what really works, then, for the first time, you will no longer be a victim of the system, but one of those who dominate it. But here comes an even more advanced concept, the art of strategic distance. Many believe that the key to power is to be always present, to be omnipresent, to ensure that you are noticed at all times. But the reality is different. Those who are always available lose their value. What is rare becomes desired, and what is common is discarded without hesitation. Think about it. Why are certain people respected just for their presence, while others, no matter how hard they try, never seem to inspire authority? The difference lies in the perception of value they convey. Machiavelli said that a prince should avoid making himself excessively accessible, not because he should despise his people, but because excessive familiarity destroys respect. When you are always present, when you give without limits, people begin to take your presence, your effort, and your generosity for granted. This doesn't just apply to politics or power, but to all areas of life. Work, relationships, friendships. When you give too much of yourself without a strategy, you become disposable. Now think, how many times have you done everything for someone and yet they didn't appreciate it? How many times have you been available to everyone only to be ignored when you needed something? This is no coincidence, it's human nature. What is abundant is despised. What is scarce is valued. That's why it's essential to learn to dose your presence, to manage your attention, to control the perception that others have of your availability. Don't respond immediately to everything. Don't always be there for everyone. Make your absence felt. Make your presence count. Because when you learn to disappear at the right time, when you learn to control your energy, people start looking for you. And that's when the game changes. The problem with most people is that they're afraid of disappearing. They're afraid that by walking away, they'll be forgotten. But here's the brutal truth. If the only way to be remembered is by always being there, then you never had any real value. Those who really have an impact are not those who talk all the time, but those who know exactly when to shut up. It's not those who are in every battle, but those who choose wisely when to act. Look at any great figure in history. True strategists don't waste energy on any petty dispute. They don't wear themselves out trying to prove their worth all the time. They show up when it really matters. And when they do, everyone pays attention. And that brings us to another essential point: emotional control as a tool of power. This is where most people fail. Many people believe that control comes from brute force, from aggression, from imposing yourself on others with shouts and threats. But true mastery, which Machiavelli understood better than anyone, lies in absolute control of emotions. Because those who lose control, those who react impulsively, who let themselves be carried away by anger or anxiety, become predictable. And what is predictable can be manipulated. Think about the last time someone made you lose your temper. The moment you got angry, the moment you reacted without thinking. Who had the power in that situation? It wasn't you. It was the other person. The one who made you leave your center, who knew exactly how to provoke your reaction. Because whoever controls your emotions controls your actions. And that's the secret. The one who can't be provoked, the one who keeps their cool no matter what, that's the real powerhouse. This applies to any situation: an argument, a negotiation, a relationship, a dispute at work. Those who maintain emotional control always win, because he who controls his emotions controls the perception that others have of him. Machiavelli made this clear. A prudent man must always act with coolness and calculation. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel emotions. It means that you can't be a slave to them. It means that you must learn to feel without allowing your emotions to dictate your decision. The world is full of people who react impulsively, who let themselves be dominated by fear, anger, and pride. People who are easy to manipulate, but those who really dominate the game are not the physically strongest. They are the ones who remain calm while everyone else loses their heads. And that brings us to an even deeper point. True power does not belong to the fastest, the most aggressive, or those who seek immediate results. True power belongs to those who know how to wait, those who understand the art of strategic patience. Most people want everything yesterday. They want respect now, recognition now, success now. But history has shown us time and time again that the great strategists, those who really shaped the world in their favor, were not those who acted on impulse, but those who knew how to wait for the right moment to act. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that fortune favors those who know how to adapt to circumstances, and that rashness is a trap that leads to failure. The world is full of people who run desperately, who make decisions without thinking, who move out of anxiety and end up trapped in cycles of frustration and mediocrity. But those who really master the game know how to observe, how to measure time, how to wait for the perfect opportunity. Think of a hunter. He doesn't shoot at the first move he sees. He observes. He measures the distance. He waits for his prey to be exactly where it should be before pulling the trigger. Because it's not the fastest who wins, but the one who knows the right moment to act. And power works in the same way. It's not the one who shouts the loudest who commands. It's the one who speaks at the right time. It's not the one who acts first who wins. It's who acts precisely. And herein lies the great difference between those who merely survive and those who truly master their own destiny. The ability to become an anomaly in the system. Now, you've understood that kindness alone isn't enough, that perception is everything, that emotional control is a powerful tool, that patience trumps impulse, and that scarcity increases value. But what does all this mean in practice? It means that if you keep acting like the majority, you'll get the same results as the majority. And being like the majority means mediocrity. It means being one of the crowd. It means being forgotten. The only way to win the game is to break out of the pattern, to be the one who doesn't react in the expected way, being the one who doesn't act as others expect, being the one who always has a card up their sleeve, the one who can never be fully understood or anticipated. The world is designed to devour those who follow the rules without question. If you do what everyone else does, you'll get the same results as everyone else. And what does that mean? Frustration, lack of recognition, feeling stuck in a gear that never works in your favor. The only way out of this is to become the unpredictable element, the person who is not easily manipulated, the person who can't be reduced to a simple formula, the person who, when they speak, makes others listen because their words carry weight. And when you learn that, something changes inside you. You realize that you were never weak. You just weren't playing with the right strategy. You realize that you weren't ignored because you have no value, but because you never knew how to project your value. But now you do. And knowing this is dangerous, because the moment you start applying it, there's no going back. The moment you start to control your presence, your image, to manage information as a tool, to use silence as a weapon, you'll start to notice that the world reacts to you differently. People who used to ignore you start to notice you. Those who underestimated you start to question themselves. Those who used to manipulate you become afraid to try because you're not the same anymore. Now you understand how the game works. And now comes the most important decision. Will you apply this knowledge? Or are you going to carry on living as before? Because what separates those who thrive from those who remain stuck is not information, it's action. You can simply keep it in your head and carry on living as you always have. But if you do that, you're choosing to be invisible. You're choosing to be ignored. Or you can start changing now. Small movements, small tests. Introduce a little mystery into your interactions. Control the impulse to talk too much. Respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. Learn to withdraw at the right time. Observe more, speak less. Analyze each situation before exposing yourself. And little by little, something starts to happen. You stop being seen as ordinary. You become someone people pay attention to. Someone who can't be ignored. Because the world doesn't remember those who just existed. The world remembers those who knew how to play the game. Now tell me, are you ready to play? If you've made it this far, I want to know who really got the message. Leave the phrase, "The power is in the silence," in the comments. Let's see how many understand what it means to move strategically. If this video has made you see things differently, if if it has made you reflect on how the game of power and strategy really works, then don't leave without leaving your support. Your help strengthens this work and allows more content like this to reach more people. Like the video, because it shows the algorithm that this kind of knowledge needs to be spread. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming content, and turn on notifications so you're always one step ahead. And tell me in the comments, are you ready to play the game the right way